Now, that'll give me plenty to think about. Now let me see. So now comes the next thing. I have been saying, but I haven't really given you any examples of this important way that everything is indeterminate. And there is no way anything is. There are only interpretations. He does it in this funny way on chapter 3, the Spouter Inn on page 10, where he sees a picture. And he goes in, what he does every once in a while, when he's about to say something important, he switches from I to you, then sort of brings you in. So here we go. We're brought in. Entering the gable-ended Spouter Inn, you found yourself in a wide, low, straggling entry with old-fashioned wainscots and so forth. And then on one side hung a very large old painting, oil painting, so thoroughly besmoked and in every way defaced that in the unequal cross-lights by which you viewed it, it was only by diligent study and a series of systematic visits to it and careful inquiry of the neighbors that you could in any way arrive at an understanding of its purpose. Such unaccountable masses of shades and shadows that at first you almost thought some ambitious young artist in the time of the New England hags had endeavored to delineate chaos bewitched. And it is chaos. That's another word he's got for it. And he says, a boggy, soggy, squinchy picture, truly, enough to drive a nervous man distracted. Well, that's just a pointing ahead. There is a nervous man in the book who is completely distracted by things he can't get a grip on and understand. And of course, that's Ahab. He even says that he wants a solid grip in this slippery world. Well, this is not a solid grip. But he loves it. Yet there was a sort of indefinite, half-attained, unimaginable sublimity about it that froze you to it till you took an oath with yourself to find out what the marvelous painting meant. And then he goes through this game of interpretation. Ever and anon, a bright but alas deceptive idea would dart through you. It's the Black Sea in a midnight gale. It's the unnatural combat of the four primal elements. It's a blasted heath. It's a Horborean winter scene. It's the breakup, this is my favorite, it's the breakup of the ice-bound stream of time. Go far and further out. But at last, all these fantasies yield to one portent to something in the picture. That once found out, all the rest were plain. But stop, does it not bear a faint resemblance to a gigantic fish? Even the great Leviathan himself? In fact, the artist designed seemed this, a final theory of my own, and so forth. So one, he says it's a whale, but he also says it's just the way it seems to him. It's his theory that it's a whale. He's got all the pieces in there. And moreover, it turns out the whale has no face, so you couldn't really paint the whale. You can't paint the whale, he says later, as it is under the water, and you can't paint the whale as it is when it's out of the water, because then it's just a kind of floppy mess, and it ceases to look like a whale. So that's the first version of the game of interpretation, which the book is all structured by. And he's got these playful interpretations. Let's see. And he says it's his own, it's what he thinks. So the whale, in its ungraspableness, and even more the white whale, become symbols of the inscrutability of the universe. And we get from the very beginning every possible interpretation. And now we see this funny thing in the book where he collects at the beginning the extracts supplied by a sub-librarian, these higgledy-piggledy gospel cetology, all funny ways of talking. I mean, cetology is science, but it's gospel cetology, but it's not reliable at all, and it's got all kinds of crazy stuff in it, and it's collected in. He gives you biblical quotes, poetic quotes, mythical quotes, scientific quotes, completely nutty quotes, because these are all supposed to be quotes about the whale, and then if you read them, and which you probably don't need to, they all of a sudden, having had the whale did this, the whale did that, the whale did that, each separate quote. Here's a quote. If you make the least damn bit of noise, replied Samuel, I'll send you to hell. Life of Samuel Comstock. Just in there, a quote which hasn't even got a whale in it. So, and all of this is this kind of randomness which he plays with. And that's it. Now, and it takes a long time for him to explain more and more about how the whale is the unrepresentable, to talk like philosophy. You can't draw it, you can't describe it, it's got marks on it that you can't decipher, it makes gestures with its tail that you can't understand, it has no face, and so forth.